Well, welcome back, folks. I'm Dan.
I'm Ryan.
And this is Bourbon Sauce. This week, we are doing a review on Garrison Brothers, the Single Barrel variety, which it depends on which one you get, because I got different reviews because of them being a single barrel. You never know. So this could be interesting.
Every barrel's different.
Yeah, and this one is aged at a minimum of 3 years, and it's all done in Texas, which is interesting because there's not a lot of bourbons that I know of that are distilled, bottled, and produced there in Texas.
Not a lot, but it sounds like there's more starting to come as it grows. From what I can tell.
But this one's bottle 16734. But this is bottle 74 out of that. And I don't know how many bottles they made because I couldn't find that anywhere on the internet. But it was interesting. Do you know much about the mash bill on this one?
Honestly, I think it's like 74% corn. And I think it's white corn, but I don't know the rest.
Yeah, and that one is corn that's actually grown in Texas, which is also unique. So they use homegrown Texas good old corn down there, which I had no idea they grew corn down in Texas. I thought that was like a middle of the United States type thing.
I don't remember the percentage, but don't they use like Canadian malt barley?
They do use a Canadian, which is again another strange, like I would never think that you would use a Canadian barley, but yeah. And then there's a wheat. This is a wheated bourbon. So
it's
So you get
crazy wheat. It's 15%. What is it? Estate grown soft red winter wheat.
Yep.
It really reminds me of tasty wheat. Did you ever eat tasty wheat?
No, but technically neither did you.
Well, that's exactly my point.
I'm curious to know where they get what their oak barrels are, where they're sourced, and what char levels they have. I couldn't find that either. Their website's pretty scarce on information, and I think that's intentional. But I do know that they're aged at least 3 years at a minimum. So this is going to be a young bourbon.
It's actually a rather, just looking at the color, it's a rather dark bourbon.
It is. It's got a great color to it. It looks like, because of that heat down there in Texas, getting up to 140 degrees in some places. I bet you that does really well for the expansion contraction of those oak barrels to get it to
it's
get up in there.
Definitely got a good color to it.
I'm going to nose this. Oh, yeah, that's a lot of oak right up front on that one. I get like a really, really faint vanilla scent in there.
Yeah, I can get a little bit of the vanilla.
And almost like a cherry.
Oof. Kind of burned my eyes a little.
Yeah, we definitely needs to breathe a little bit more, but
like I don't get a huge ethanol, but I do get ethanol, but whatever that was, it definitely got my eyes a little.
Yeah, with it being a little younger and only 94 proof though. That's kind of interesting that it's got such a strong ethanol. Well, here's to nothing. Cheers.
Cheers.
Heavy oak, for sure. It reminds me of
this reminds me
Johnny
of
Walker.
Scotch, and I don't like it.
It reminds me of Johnny Walker.
I don't like it.
This almost reminds me of Johnny Walker Black, to be specific. Like one of their younger scotches, maybe.
Yeah, I hate to say it. The scotchiness of it just, I don't care for Scotch.
Yeah, I don't mind scotches. So to me, if I want a scotch, I would drink a scotch.
Right.
I don't want my bourbon to be a scotch. So it's almost like it's It's got
It smells kind of scotchy to me as well.
there's a lot of earthy tones to it.
And when I smelt it, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this, but
Did you dealt it when you smelt it?
no, Garrison Brothers dealt it. I'm just smelling it.
Yeah. You know, I was reading an article today about the way people describe bourbons, and they said that if you describe it as smooth, then people are going to judge you for that. And I call certain bourbons smooth all the time because we're not like hoity-toity, prim proper bourbon aficionados. I mean, we love bourbon, don't get me wrong, but we're not like a master distiller who's going to be hired by Wild Turkey to pick their next flavor profiles. And we have to be super like in tuned and like, this tastes like butterscotch, but not just butterscotch, a butterscotch from 1974 that was aged in a warehouse over in, in New Hampshire.
Right.
And you're like, what? How fucking obscure is that?
I mean, I can drink this.
Yeah.
And like it's the scotchiness that throws it off for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not a bad taste.
It is heavy, heavy oak though.
Yeah, it's definitely heavy on the wood. Very, very scotchy.
Yeah.
A good bit of dryness to it. And as far as people judging, I mean, come on, people judge you for the socks you wear, so who cares?
People judge me for the clothes I wear,
Right?
or the hats that I wear, or the clothes I don't wear.
Do you remember the price point?
I don't. This was part of that buy that you did out in Corbin area.
Yeah, I want to say this is around $120.
I think you're right because
Yeah.
I think I saw prices ranging from 80 to 160 depending on where you were at.
Yep.
Which I was like, holy smokes for that. I'm very curious because Garrison Brothers has a line of different bourbons, and they have the different color waxes on the top. So this one's got that silver top, which I kind of assumed with it being a single barrel that it would have been like a store pick single barrel, but it wasn't. It was just a normal single barrel. Because normally if they do the store picks, they put a cool little like home plate placard at the bottom of it to let you know that it's been picked by that store.
But I will say the ice cube definitely dials her down. It smells decent with the cube compared to when it's neat. And by the way, Dan and his team were hell-bent on doing this, by the way.
Yes.
Huh?
I saw that and I was like, Dan, huh? They got a Dan in there? I like it. It still smells like oak, like a lot, which is strange for being so young. The mouthfeel, it's granular. Like to me, it's like you're chewing on a piece of wood.
A few moments later.
For smell, on neat.
5.
You gave it a 5?
The smell's decent. Like I enjoyed the aromas, especially after it kind of mellowed a little and it breathed a bit. I enjoyed the smells.
I didn't find it very.
But it wasn't like, oh my gosh, can I just leave my nose in this?
Because it smells so strong of oak. I didn't find it pleasant. It was kind of like pungent to me. It reminded me of like old mossy oak because of that. Getting the Scotch, and they use peat and different things like that in Scotch. That's what I smelled. Was it like a musty oak?
That totally explains the scotchiness.
So I was just kind of like, ugh.
So what did you give it?
I gave it a 3.
Ooh, my, how the tables have turned.
Yeah.
All right. What did you give it for a smell on the rocks?
Also a 3. It didn't change a whole lot. It watered it down, but to me, it oftentimes it dulls the oak for me in other, like in bourbons. But for this, it made the oak even stronger.
Because it cut pretty much any ethanol that was remaining. And it killed the vanilla.
It killed all the other flavors. Like I had a cherry-ish flavor early,
Mm-hmm.
but now almost all of the flavoring has been muted, and it's just an oak.
I gave it a 4.
I also did a 3 again.
What
So-
about your taste on the neat?
Well, considering my taste buds are still developing again, it wasn't a great mouthfeel. It, to me, was very gritty. It had like a very scotchy taste. It was very oaky. There was a little bit of like burnt caramelness, like very faint.
Is that how it felt the first time a woman did oral on you?
Yes, a little toothy.
It was a little gritty, like sandpaper.
Yeah. No handies. All right. But I gave it a 3. What about you?
I gave it a 4 on taste on neat.
Okay. All right. What about on ice?
3.
I did a 3 as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then drinkability on neat, I gave it a 5 because it's not intolerable. Like I can drink it, but
And
it's not going to be something I'm going to snag off the shelf.
the tolerability for me is not very high.
Yeah.
I feel like, again, it earned itself a 3.
Okay. And then on the rocks, a 3.
Also a 3. Yeah.
What do you think mine is on the rocks? Because I was a 5 on neat.
I think that it went down, and I'm going to go that it went, oh, you dropped 2 points. Damn.
I dropped 2 points on drinkability. On it, just no. On ice, it's just no.
Yeah, it's maybe this one would be, no, I don't think. This would be maybe okay in a Manhattan. I don't think old fashioned. I think maybe a Manhattan for this one. So I think if this were to be mixed in something,
I don't know because most of the Manhattans are usually a rye. So that's not got enough. That's not got enough oomph on the ass end with the
spice.
the spice to, for me anyways, to even
Yeah.
see it in a Manhattan. And I would not put this in an old fashioned.
No, I would not.
Maybe you put
I
it
don't
in-
know if it's the Canadian barley that just tastes weird with the oak, or if it's maybe the white corn from Texas. I don't know. That has a weird flavor, but it's just, to me, a very, very weird. So the drinkability for me is a 3.
Price point for me was a 3.
I also did a 3 because that's just ridiculous for that price, for it to taste like that.
Yeah.
You better come with something,
Mhm.
Garrison Bros.
Yeah,
We need
100%.
something better out of that Texas place down there in Rye.
What did you say on share?
I said, nope.
I said no.
I put nope, like NOPE. Nope.
I put no.
Yeah.
What was your overall on neat?
Overall, across the board was 3 because I just put 3s everywhere. So
Okay.
they get 3 overall. That's it.
So mine get a little wonky. So mine is a 4.25
Mhm.
on neat.
Because you gave
because-
that 5 and yeah.
I gave the 5 on the smell and 5
Uh-huh.
on drinkability.
Yeah.
And then on the rocks, it drops a whole point to 3.25. The only thing that kept it at 3.25 is the fact that I gave it a 4 on smell.
You know, they value good health, personal accountability, and moderation for themselves, families, employees, and their friends. I'm going to need them to hold themselves accountable for the way that this tastes. And you're going to give me a refund or send me something
You
different.
know, after having this one and after the other one that we still have to redo a review on,
Mhm.
I feel like we should
Put
have
them
a
against
s-
each other?
We should have a special tab that says request refund or no. Yes
Oh,
or no
yeah.
to refund.
You know, I'm wondering if you went into a liquor store and you're like, this tastes like the bottom of my dog's paws.
Liquor store's not going to care.
But do you think a distillery is really going to care? I doubt it.
I don't know. I guess it depends on how influential you become.
Yeah, no, that's true. I would like to know if maybe we got a bad barrel. And so if there's anybody else out there that's had Garrison Brothers and you have a different barrel number than 16734,
8675309.
that's a long number for a barrel number.
I couldn't resist it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but sometimes when we're doing these things, you'll say something that just triggers a song.
Well, yeah. I think of movie quotes, you think of songs.
I mean, I do all kinds of movie quotes too, but you don't trigger those in me. You trigger songs. Well, I will say you triggered the
I'm amused.
life is like a box of
Yeah.
chocolates, so that's a good one. You're my musical muse.
Right. I just don't know about this one.
Yeah, no.
I was disappointed. I had high hopes. High hopes.
I hope.
Hi ho.
It's off to we go. I would.
I mean, it's got a cool bottle. It's got that going for it. And they kind of copied Maker's Mark with the wax thing, even though they went different colors. And they kind of,
Right.
instead of doing it all runny, like they just made it like almost a crisp.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
To shelf or not to shelf?
Ooh, I would put that behind the bar. Like if it's, you have the bar top and then the shelves start, I would put that on the bar. Oh, so that way, people would see it because it's nice shelf jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't recommend it. And I would just be like, yeah, there's a lot better selections that you could go with than this, especially for $100, $120. That's the part that really chaps my ass. It's like you pay that kind of money to have that flavor like it's a scotch and it's claiming it's a bourbon. That pisses me off.
What chaps my ass?
I just don't like deceptiveness. When I go to drink a bourbon, I want it to taste like a bourbon. I don't want it to taste like anything else. I don't want it to taste like gin. I don't want it to taste like some other spirit, some other grain spirit out there. Vodka.
And now I understand when you get the ones with the cast finish, right? You go in picking that and you're expecting it, right?
100%.
I don't go pick up a bottle of Texas straight bourbon and expect to drink scotch.
No. So to me, it was just, it's a little disappointing. They like to call it like a cowboy bourbon, but
that's I love that they like to call it a cowboy bourbon, right? You know why?
Why?
Because this is the first legal bourbon in Texas, right?
Yeah.
So what bourbon did cowboys drink before that?
That's a good question.
It is. Because I'm pretty sure them cowboys were drinking good old Kentucky bourbon.
Oh, I'm sure they probably had to have gotten it from, especially back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I fired them shots.
I bet you'd be like...
I fired them shots.
You got to think, what was probably the cheapest thing back then? I don't think Old Forester would have been
Chicken Cock is one of the oldest bourbons.
Allegedly.
Not allegedly. Like, it's actually on the line.
Yeah, there's definitely older distilleries, but...
like Vince Vaughn says on the internship, on the line. It's on the line.
Yeah.
Are you saying online? No, it's on the line.
Or like Freddie Got Fingered. Daddy, do you have some sausage? Daddy, would you like some sausage? And he's got all those lines of strings, That's what I think of when he's anyway. My brain goes a different place. I just think no.
Cause he's spacebound like a rocket ship and he's sailing away.
Yeah, it could be lines of cocaine, like in the movie Blow.
Oh, God. Yeah. We're spiraling down the musical and video.
What if it was Wild Turkey? Like what if that was the cheapest thing back in the day? I'm really curious what would have been the cheapest one back in like the 1700s that was readily available, that you can get cross country for a cowboy who's riding horseback, and he stops in your local saloon and he's like, hey, bar wench, why don't you give me a shot of that whiskey back there? And then she's like, sorry, all we got is bourbon. Well, that's the same damn thing, Sue. He got two different females back there, so he's yelling at one and calling the other one bar wench.
Yeah. Well, I would say so. A fun, interesting fact for back during like 1800s bourbons, some of your bars would actually get their barrels in.
Yeah.
Pour a set amount of bourbon into the barrel and then finish it out with water to dilute it down a little bit and to extend the amount of bourbon they had.
Of course.
Right?
That makes sense.
And then your top shelf was not cut. So a little interesting fact about the 1800s cowboy era.
That'd be kind of cool to though, have a time machine just to go back and see. Like I really am curious about like, we're doing this like Western theme of bourbons. We're gonna do a little run of Western bourbons that are themed cowboy or otherwise, or that we think fit a Western theme. You might have some that we don't do, and you're like, "What the? Why didn't you do this brand?"
Right. I gotta say, after having this, this doesn't fit that brand.
I mean, if you're a train robber
Mm,
and you're robbing somebody of their taste buds,
yeah, or you're Scottish and you like Scotch.
yeah,
Yeah, this is not a cowboy bourbon. I don't care. You could be a cowboy that made it, but this is not a cowboy bourbon.
no. Unless the idea is that it's supposed to be a rough ride for your taste buds.
Hey, maybe.
Or like you have like a rodeo cowboy and you got to hold on for at least, 32 seconds or whatever?
8 seconds.
8
seconds. 8 seconds.
30 seconds would be a hell of a rodeo. Yeah.
Oof.
That takes your taste buds for a ride for sure. It's different flavors than I would have anticipated coming out of that bottle. But either way. If you guys like this review and you like our merch, make sure you check out our merch on bourbonsauced.com. And we set up a Patreon.
Yes, we did. And it's case sensitive,
it's
capital B, capital S.
Yeah. For, our big BS logo. Kind of makes sense to me.
So it's bourbon sauced, capital B, capital S.
Yeah. Patreon.com/bourbonsauced.
Lots of cool prizes and things for subscribers.
Yeah. So go check out the Patreon, read about it. That way you can help support our channel, and which would help us grow our channel. And then we can review better bourbons that you guys suggest. If you're like one of our members, Steve, who has paid for the top tier, which is the whole bottle, is what we're calling it. And he went for the whole bottle. And so thank you, Steve, for that. We appreciate you.
He was actually our first.
First.
Yeah, he was our first and the first to go straight for the whole bottle.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks, Steve. He's going to end up getting a chance to recommend a bourbon for us to drink and a chance to get on a Wet Your Whistle with us. So if you guys are curious of how that can go down for you, just make sure you go and check out the Patreon, and you might have a shot at joining us for a Wet Your Whistle and suggesting a bourbon for us in different episodes. So
also, if you didn't like our review, you can also leave comments.
Yeah, for sure.
We encourage both positive and negative comments.
Yeah.
Just be tasteful.
Or don't.
Which is more than I can say for this.
I agree. And on that note, until next time, drink your favorite drink and get sauced.
Cheers.
Cheers.